Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love, a love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service.
Arise, O souls,
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Is it my imagination or did the grass green up overnight? Speaking of green, last night we had our annual auction and we raised over $28,000. Woo! This may be the biggest ever. I want to take this opportunity to thank Suzanne Rainey, who headed this up, and Scott Hensey, who prepared the wonderful little box dinners, yes. And to people too numerous to mention who, with their time and talents, made it such a success. Okay, on with regular programming. I'm Jean Patterson, a member of All Souls, and whether you're here in the room or watching online, we're glad you're here and your presence enriches all of us and our time together. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Our tradition is a large tent with room for many beliefs and approaches to the questions that matter. We seek to build the beloved community, making room for everyone, and creating a world where everyone's needs are met. You may be new here this morning. We welcome you. We know that your first time attending a church, you may want to keep a low profile and just check things out. But that's great. We're glad you're here. And if you're a visitor and excited to be here and to let all of us know who you are, we invite you to raise your hand at this time. Anybody? Oh, good. We have several visitors. Whoever you are and whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you're welcome here. You are invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome you today.
So, right now, in all of our worries, I want to begin our time together with this. You are surrounded by love in this room and through this community online. This community is one built on care for one another, and our religious tradition holds love at the center. So right now, take a deep breath and feel the love that rests inside of you. And feel it expand to surround the people around you. Let it expand to everyone in this room and outward as far as you can imagine. Your love can go far, as does the love of everyone around you. So soak in this love and gather it right next to your heart. And in the coming week, when you feel alone or despair of the world, place your hand on your heart and remember all of that love sitting right there. This is why we gather as religious community, to remind us every week that we are not alone, but connected to many caring people, to uplift that which is of worth and allow ourselves to be changed by it. That is literally what it means to worship, to shape and be shaped by that which is of worth. And so, let us now worship together.
May the flame of our chalice warm our hearts, that they may open ever larger, ever further into trust.
Please rise in body and spirit, however you're feeling like rising today, and help with us together to read our covenant aloud. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please remain risen, and let us sing together, Building Bridges.
Our opening song today is Building Bridges, and we're going to sing it as a two-part round. So this part of the congregation will start, and this will join in, and I'll cue you when you join in. And this half of the choir will be with y'all and Erin, and this half and me will be with this on this side. So we'll all sing it together once so we get familiar with it, and then sing it as a round 3 times. And continue to repeat the last line as you get after the 3rd time. All right?
Our commitment to human fellowship means that we are called upon to be glad with those who rejoice and to weep with those who mourn. Thus, we set aside this time in our gathering to share with one another the joys and the sorrows which are now shaping our lives. May the beauty and sweetness of these brief flowers remind us to hold one another in the bonds of sympathy, encouragement, and care. And so, in a moment, I will invite forward those of you who have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to briefly share with us. Please know that once we've pretty much finished that line, I will ask our amazing tech people to make sure that we are no longer live streaming to YouTube for a moment, so that if you would like to share something that you do not want immortalized on the internet for all eternity, that's the time to do it. I will also remind us that we do our sharing of joys and sorrows with the children present so that they can fully be part of this community. Also, keep in mind that there are children present. I'm going to start with a flower. That tomorrow is the Trans Day of Divisibility. And I know that there are trans people in this room. I'm not going to ask you to identify yourselves unless you really, really want to, but that's up to you. But I know that you're here, and the rest of us know that you're here. And it matters that you are fully yourself, and it matters that you are part of this congregation. I now invite forward anyone who would like to share a joy or sorrow.
It's perfect that Reverend Erin is talking about trust and division. I just was listening to the radio, and our administration just edicted that the Smithsonian is no longer trusted with the true history of America and is erasing most things that they consider divisive, that we consider truth. So I'm sorrowful for that. And hope it's still intact when I get there at GA in June at the African American Museum of History.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I broke my ankle back in November, so if you haven't met me, that is why I was not here for a long time. I'm out of my walking boot, so that's a joy. But I also found out 2 days after getting it off that I have to move within the next month and a half. And I am not ready for that. I am behind on many things, so there is a lot of fear going into this stage, but I show up because I need community, so thank y'all for being here.
And I'm Joe. I raised this flower in celebration of my father, the Reverend Dr. Jack C. Robertson, who died peacefully, it seems, during his afternoon nap on March 9th at the age of 94. And I bring this to you because some of you may remember, know that he was, from his perch down there in Texas, during the online time, he became a big fan of All Souls and Kindle. And he particularly enjoyed hanging out with you all in the after-service chat. So I wanted to bring this to you. And he was raised Presbyterian, and after a wide roaming life of public service, he became a Presbyterian minister. But on top of all that, he discovered, like so many of us here, that he was always also a UU at heart.
Hi, my name is Spencer. I'm pretty new here. I've been coming here for a little over a month and a half with Bailey and Dylan and Alyssa. And last year, I lost my mom, and then, that was pretty hard. And I was like, well, it can't get too much worse. And then I lost my job, and then I lost my father. And then we decided to move in together, and I received just incredible support from other family and friends. And, some things got better, some things got worse. And I kind of learned that it didn't seem to matter how much I lost. There were always people there that I cared about, that cared about me. And I also haven't spoken publicly about much in a long time. I used to do spoken word, but I find that I'm feeling more comfortable with that again too.
Hi, I'm Rita, and I have a joy. I participated in the March for Democracy yesterday here in Kansas City. And it was great. It was safe, which I was very grateful for, and I found 2 folks from here to walk with, and that was great. So it was just a wonderful experience, and I realize a lot going on that we can take part in, whether it's from our own homes or out in public, which I'm very grateful for that.
Start with your name. This is Jude. Did you have a joy or a sorrow that you wanted to share? Okay. Well, I'm glad that Jude had us come up. I've felt a lot of depression and anxiety the last couple of years, been struggling with that, working through it, and I've been really grateful for the community here, lifting me up, giving me love and smiles, and my family, who I've connected with in new and exciting ways. And I'm grateful to report that things have felt different the last couple months, and it feels like a new chapter, and which I'm happy for me and for my family, but also feels important to be out more. And so I'm grateful to have that energy to be doing that. So thanks. You have one too? You ready? What you got?
Last year, my dad's dad died on Christmas. So I'm really sorry for him.
So it was my grandpa, and he was 98. He lived a big, full life, but it was a time of passing for us.
My name's Elaine Good. I've actually been a member of this church since I was 8, although I haven't been here for the last almost 7 years, since I had a memorial service here for my father, Wally Good. And I felt like coming back would be so painful. And it does hurt. I miss him so much. Also, I came for the first time last week, and sitting here, especially talking about the history of the church, there's something about being here that also feels like home to me. So I'm going to keep trying to come, because I have missed this place. There are a lot of new faces since I was here that many years ago, but it's good to be back, and I look forward to getting to know new people and renewing friendships. So thank you.
Oh, hi, Nelson. Only if I bring you the microphone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nelson Maurice, an old-time All Souls member. I joined in 2004 and was very active for years and years, especially in the men's group. I have had health problems, and I now use a walker all the time. And I've recently I've reached a node in my life. You know what a node is? Think of a length of bamboo every foot or 2 feet. There'll be a section, and that's where the growth went along and then stopped and then started again. And my relationship with my long-term partner had gotten so that it was no longer productive and good for either of us, and we just ended it. And I've been reclaiming what life I have left. I'm 83 now, and I'm finding I have a lot of life left, and I intend to be active in All Souls. I would like to get a men's group going again. I believe there's not one right now. I don't qualify for being a member of the Night Stalkers, that one that is designed for men that can drive at night. So I would be more like the other group was called the Raging Bulls. And we can meet in the daytime, and I will look for some help here from management. And you didn't know you were management, did you? And I hope to be doing a lot of things here with you folks. Thank you very much.
At this time, I will ask our amazing tech people to stop having us broadcast to the now place this final flower for all of the outreachings of the heart and the spirit that abide unspoken in our hearts. And please now read aloud with me our words of response written by Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing, a lifelong sharing of love with others. Let us now sing our young people to their classes. God,
Hi, I'm Courtney, and my family gives to All Souls because each Sunday I come and sit in this room and find inspiration from the sermons and music and stories that we hear. I'm given something to take with me as hope in this unstable world we find ourselves in right now. The chaos and upheaval that we are all experiencing seems unmanageable at times. And it's hard to know what to do as all the things around us are being dismantled. I think of the lyrics from Frozen 2 that tell us when the life we knew is over and we are being pulled down, we must go on and do the next right thing. I have two immediate next right things that we can do. One is to give generously to All Souls, to keep this community thriving and these relationships growing so that we have hope that we can hold on to each week. And two, to think of the children in this building right now, and this Wednesday, vote yes for the KC School Bond. So that our children, my children, their schools get the money that they need to repair their crumbling buildings. Two next right things to help all the people in this building today. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
And now let's join together as we dedicate our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society.
Our first reading today is from Anatomy of Trust, a presentation by Brené Brown. And I'm like, how am I going to explain trust to this third grader in front of me? So I took a breath and I said, Ellen, trust is like a marble jar. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, you share those hard stories and those hard things that are happening to you with friends who, over time, you filled up their marble jar. They've done thing after thing after thing where you're like, I know I can trust this person. I can share this with this person. Does that make sense? Yes. And that's what Ellen said. Yes, that makes sense. And I said, do you have any marble jar friends? And she said, oh yeah, totally. Hannah and Lorna are marble jar friends. And I said, and this is where things got interesting, said, tell me what you mean. How do they earn marbles for you? And she said, well, Lorna, if there's not a seat for me at the lunch cafeteria, she'll scoot over and give me half a Heine seat. And I'm like, she will? She's like, yeah, she'll just sit like that, and so I can sit with her. And I said, that's a big deal. Although that was not what I was expecting to hear. And then she said, and you know Hannah, on Sunday at my soccer game? And I was waiting for this story where she said, I got hit by a ball and I was laying on the field and Hannah picked me up and ran me to first aid. So I was like, yeah? And she said, well, Hannah looked over and she saw Oma and Opa, my parents, her grandparents. And she said, look, your Oma and Opa are here. And I was like, boy, she got a marble for that? And Ellen said, well, you know, not all of my friends have 8 grandparents because my parents are divorced and remarried and my husband's parents are divorced and remarried. And Ellen said, and it was so nice that she remembered their names. And I was like, And then Ellen asked, do you have any marble jar friends? And I said, yeah, I do have a couple of marble jar friends. And she said, well, what kind of things do they do for marbles? And this feeling came over me. And I thought, the first thing I could think of, because we were talking about that soccer game, was the same game. My good friend Eileen walked up to my parents and said, Diane, David, good to see you. And I was like, certainly. Trust cannot be built by these small, insignificant moments in our lives. It's got to be a grander gesture than that.
Trust by Thomas R. Smith. It's like so many other things in life to which you must say no or yes. So you take your car to the new mechanic. Sometimes the best thing to do is trust. The package left with a disreputable-looking clerk, the check gulped by the night deposit, the envelope passed by dozens of strangers, all show up at their intended destinations. The theft that could have happened doesn't. Wind finally gets where it was going, through the snowy trees, in the river, even when frozen arrives at the right place. And sometimes you sense how faithfully your life is delivered, even though you can't read the address.
So I remember the day that my father taught me about trust. I must have been in the 3rd, maybe the 4th grade. And he got a big Clausen pickle jar and wrote the word trust in all capital letters all over the jar. And then he wrapped that jar in a paper bag and handed me a hammer. I had to smash the jar. Now, let me be clear, I did not want to. I begged him to not make me smash that jar. In part, I was freaked out about it because trust is something important. And I think I did not like the idea of intentionally breaking something. He made me smash it nonetheless. Symbols are powerful, and I might have cried. The lesson, of course, was that once trust is broken, it can never be put back the way it was. And I'd had my own experience of my trust being broken. I'd been assigned to sing in a trio for a little song and a performance of the combined 3rd grade classes. Somehow, a 4th child, for whatever reason, had started singing with this trio. And this really bothered me, because it was supposed to be a trio. And the teacher hadn't said that there was a change. A trio is 3, not 4. And a friend of mine surprised me by asking me out of the blue, well, should something happen that I couldn't sing in the concert, that maybe she could take my place for that song. And I told her no. That if something happened and I couldn't sing, it would actually be a trio as intended, which is what was supposed to happen. And somehow no one noticed I was autistic. Lo and behold, I got strep throat. My fever was high, was barking like a seal when I coughed, and I was clearly not able to sing for that concert. And then a few weeks later, we watched the videotape in class. Yes, videotape. Guess what? She sang that song. It was a darned quartet. And I was heartbroken and crying, watching the concert without me in it. And I was furious that she had gone against my explicit wishes. And then I learned that she'd asked the teacher if she could, possibly indicating that I'd said she should. She broke my trust. It's been 35 years. I haven't encountered her in more than 25 years, and I haven't gotten over it. If she were to send me a Facebook friend request, I'd decline it. An example that my father's metaphor was right. But it's interesting to me that when my father taught me about trust, he taught me about the betrayal of trust. He taught me of its demise and to anticipate the repercussions that come from my breaking someone else's trust. The lesson was to always be trustworthy. And the extended lesson was that forgiving need not be forgetting. But he never taught me how to build the trust of others. He never taught me how to know when to trust someone. He only showed me a dramatic metaphor of it being catastrophic to break trust. And you know, until my training for ministry, no one ever did teach me how to build the trust of others. No one ever taught me how to know when to trust someone, which would have been useful because I'm inherently trusting. And more than once in my training for ministry, I've been assigned to watch Brené Brown's Anatomy of Trust talk. Our first reading was from that talk, and I apologize that to cut it down, I left you with a cliffhanger. She said, trust cannot be built by these small, insignificant moments in our lives. It's got to be a grander gesture than that. And then a little later, she says that based on her research, it is crystal clear. Trust is built in very small moments. It is not about big moments, big promises, or big declarations. How do you feel when someone says, oh, of course you can trust me? Trust is the tiny marbles in the marble jar that build up over time. And I don't really think any of us notice when someone earns a marble in their jar. I don't think we characterize those small moments as building trust. They are moments when we see that someone cares about us or our well-being, or sometimes someone else's well-being. Trust emerges from care, both caring for others and being careful of others. Charles Feldman defines trust as choosing to make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. Make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. And this immediately expands whatever we were thinking about being trust. Everything important that can also be vulnerable. Thomas R. Smith's poem, Trust, uplifts the mundane day-to-day ways in which we trust most of the people we encounter. The new mechanic, the package delivery service, or the food delivery, or the person delivery ride shares, all show up at their intended destinations. Oh goodness, do I remember when we received the check with the proceeds from selling a house through a delivery service? And do I remember fretting over what to do with that check because our bank does not have physical locations to hand it to a person? Mobile deposit has a cap, and this check was well above that cap. Our only option was to deposit it at an ATM. It was an act of utter trust. And the relief that nothing went wrong was real. Despite all of the human foibles that we have still built systems and institutions that over time earned their marbles one by one, developing trust that is passed down through generations sometimes, has passed from person to the point that we no longer consider that something is vulnerable to the actions of someone else. The trust becomes inherent. And right now, it feels as though the things that we have obviously trusted for our whole lives are suddenly tumbling down, broken, leaving behind no faith at all. Broken trust after broken trust. I trusted that the government on some level had my best interests at heart. I trusted that a letter would be delivered promptly. I trusted that the courts would make sure that justice was served. I trusted that representatives might represent me. I trusted that I and the people around me were safe in our own country, at least from the government. I recognize that these trusts have eroded over time. No, these things did not come out of nowhere. And I hold many privileges that have allowed me to trust with however much naivete I had in years past as I trusted. Had I been BIPOC, poor, not straight, not cis, or been more noticeably disabled, I know that my trust in society's capacity to do good and to treat people well, or in institutions to care about me at all, would have eroded so much more quickly. Or it never would have developed at all. In my rage watching the government that has tried to make life easier for people be systematically dismantled, I felt as though this were a sudden ripping apart of my trust, that out of nowhere someone had taken a hammer to the jar, shattering it. But I can step back and see that none of this was truly sudden. It was calculated. Historians are tracing back step by step how this happened, both more recently and also how the arguments and the hatred are deep-seated through the centuries. It feels wholly novel and earth-shattering. And yet our country has seen much of it before. The Black, indigenous people of color among and around us have always known that American institutions are untrustworthy. Never in our history did those institutions earn marbles in those jars. We started kidnapping people from their homes before 1619. We deported the indigenous people from their own lands and kidnapped children to put them in prison-like boarding schools. Our society has beaten and lynched without due process for millennia. No access to resources and broken promises have been constants. All of us know that civil rights never led to equity. Systemic racism is built into everything. And for our LGBTQIA+ selves and siblings, how long has the pressure to conform been a part of not only our culture, but also our legal system? It is so recent that brave activists have tackled those laws and made it possible for marriage equality, let alone living out of the closet. That many of the LGBTQIA+ members of this congregation clearly remember the fear for safety and the anger that the AIDS epidemic was ignored. Tomorrow being the Trans Day of Disability is not lost. And I implore all of you to not simply recognize that there are trans people among us in this room this morning, making them visible, but to cherish their presence. In my heart, it is a day for extra special acceptance, far beyond acknowledgement, at the same time that our national government has erased the existence of trans people. We saw this collapse coming, and I can remember it as if it were in slow motion, brick by brick, the pieces of the Jenga tower removed. It had been made unstable, even built unstable. And as we watched with bated breath, we all knew that it would come crashing down and the pieces fall, still like in slow motion. And on good days, I still have hope that the tower will be shored up, that democracy will right it, that our voices will call to action those who are able to exert direct pressure and wedge those blocks back into the tower that has been the United States government. There is hope. I want you to remember that. Maybe today just isn't a good day for me, and you're hearing my fear and anguish, and not so much my faith in people. I often tell you what I need to hear. So I'm going to step back and remind myself and you that we can have faith in people. We can. Our faith in people can start small, all tentative-like, with setting out the jars in our hearts, taking notice when someone earns a marble. And I mean taking notice, bringing the presence of mind and spirit to recognizing when a new marble happens, and even looking for those opportunities that you might be able to find a marble to put in a jar. That is a spiritual practice of trust, recognizing it as others build your trust in them. It goes the other way, of course. You intentionally developing the relationships around you into ones of trust, being open, taking the time to notice other people, to see full humans worthy of love and care, and to reach out with that spirit. Make it easy for the people around you to develop trust in you, and don't give them reason to doubt your trustworthiness. This too is a spiritual practice. To live your life into ever greater trustworthiness. And then this builds what can be possible. This ever expanding effort into trust creates the kinds of relationships among people and organizations that have the ability to resist, to create new bonds on which we can shape ourselves and our communities around our values: justice, equity, generosity, plurality, transformation, independence, and love. We can and will build the trust on which all else rests, the trust that will overwhelm all that is being broken, that will unite us, that will create another world that is possible. That has always been what we have done, and we need it ever more in this moment. Let that trust grow, and we will see what we can create. I know they will be good things. May it be so. Please join in singing our next song, Rise, in whatever way your spirit has you rise. Come sing a song with me.
Come sing a song with me. Come
this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let us place our hope in one another. Let us build up one another, build trust with one another, and act out of our deep, deep love. Our hope will never die.